So we're taking a quick glance at this new design we just put out called StarStruck. It's a great design for dance and tumble and cheer, things like that. Can be used for other things as well. But if you've used any of our designs, this is going to feel very familiar. So nothing overly complicated here. Pretty easy to set this up and get going. So let's just take a look at some of the layers just to give you an overview of what's included here. So at the top we have our text layers. These are just normal text. You can find the fonts used in the sample on the product page, but these fonts can be swapped out for other fonts very easily. Just all normal text, normal editing just by double clicking on the text and changing whatever you would like that to say. So we could put in Nitro High School and click the check to apply that and just update the text. So all of these are just normal text. You will find that, like on the first and last name that's set up here, there are some layer effects, which is giving it that glowing neonish type of effect there. So those would be changed. For instance, if we double click on the effect here, if we go to the stroke, you could change the color of the stroke. The inner glow, we could change that color if we wanted to make it more into the blue range. We could click down in our blues. Same with the outer glow. So if we want to change that neonish effect from red to blue, that's how we would update that, changing those colors there. Click OK on that. If we scroll on down, we've got our color grading layers. Again, there's a couple different layers in here. So if you put your subject in, or you find you want a little bit more, a little bit less of that color grading effect, you can change the opacity of the whole group, or you could pick the individual layers in here and change opacities there as well. Here we have our facial highlight boost. We'll talk about those in just a minute. As we come on down, here's an optional smoke layer, which we will talk about that in a minute, but also the ability to color that smoke. This is some foreground darkening that can be turned on or off. We have our subject groups based on if we have a full-length subject or a cropped subject. Again, we'll talk about those in just a second. Below that, we have some different prearranged star orientations in here. So this is the first one that's turned on by default. We could turn that off. So here's option 2. Here's option 3. Now these are just pre-laid out. Now the beauty of these is that if we open these up, let's say we open up this second one here, and we expand this group, well, all of these stars are individually layered within the group. So those can be moved around, resized, create all of your own custom layouts of these stars as well. And then within the groups of the stars, so for this top one here, you'll see that within this are a couple options as well. So one is this neon outline. So that can be actually turned on or off based on the look that you like. The color of that is just changed by our effect here in the outer glow. So we could choose that color, and we could come pick a blue or green or whatever we're trying to make it. We can update that color there through the outer glow. And then also on the star itself, there's a glitter texture. So this can be turned on or off depending on the look that you would like. And then the color here. So to change the color, as with all the options in this template, these are done through hue saturation adjustment layers. So you'll see these labeled in the layer here. So the star color, adjust HSL sliders as needed. So when we select this layer, let's scroll this down a little bit here, we're going to get our properties window, which has our sliders in here for hue, saturation, and lightness. So all we would need to do is move this hue to whatever color we're trying to match up with the subject's uniforms or their attire, things like that. So you can change how light or dark they are, how saturated they are, and what color they are. And there's some online tools for being able to set your HSL based on a color picker tool and things like that. Go to the JHP Backgrounds Facebook group, and there's links to that in there, and we can always reshare those links. So feel free to join us over there, and if you need help, ask questions, and we'll be happy to help. So let's set this back to red. So that's how the colors are going to be controlled on all of the elements. So you could make these stars all different colors. You could make different patterns of colors. So for instance, if we let's turn this one off, turn the first one on, you can see that we actually have a blue star in here. and some red stars as well. And on this, there's a particular effect on this top star where we have an additional center star, so that can be turned on or off. And just like with the other stars, it's got its own neon outline, so you can create some different looks here. You can change the color of just that center star. So again, try to build this in so it's very easy to use, but also gives some interesting options to create some different looks. So the center stars, it's on its own layer, and then if you expand the outer stars, of course those are grouped. There's the bottom, the middle, the top, and then even at that, within there you have the right and left. So again, you should be able to create a host of different looks based on what you would like to do here. It does not have to be left by default. This is just a starting point to get you going quickly. Now, below our star options, I did include a red, white, and blue just background shift. So that's just going to automatically turn on a red, white, and blue theme, which tends to work really well for this type of design for a lot of things. So it's there, but it can be turned off if not needed. And then we have some ground glows in here. Let's turn our text off so we can see these glows. So these ground glows are just going to affect, you know, based on what color stars you make up here, you can change and shift the color of these ground glows so it feels like there's some reflection happening here. By default, there is a center glow in here for that, you know, the bright area that we have in here. And then for these side stars, you could just expand these, and you'll see each different glow. There's a center one there, and then a couple each to the right and left. And they all have their own color shift on here. So if you turn on this hue saturation layer, say for all of these here, if we wanted to make those blue, then again, you're just going to shift these the same as you would the stars or any other colors by moving your HSL layers. Okay, so let's turn our color shift off of those glows. And again, you could turn the glows off by just turning the group off and just having that center one if you just had, say, like a center star or something like that. Alright, let's turn those back on. Then we have our background layers. We have an overall coloring for our background. We have just the glitter portion. We have just the smoke portion. So again, that can be changed. You could change opacities if you wanted to lower that to create a little bit different of a look. If you wanted to turn that off and just use the smoky background, you could do that as well and still have the floor in here. And then our background color is just an overall shift here. So it's going to set everything to the same tone if you want to color it all the same. And again, it's just another hue saturation lightness adjustment layer here. So you would just dial that hue in to whatever matches up what you need. Okay, let's step back. So that's all the general layers in this. Let's turn our glows back on here. Okay. So when you drop a subject in, there are a couple of options, whether you're using a full length or crop. So full length, you would drop this open and drop your subject in, and then you could make them look like they're, you know, standing on this floor plane here. So that's where we would use the full length. If you're using a cropped subject, maybe the feet are not in your extraction or you don't want to put them in there, then you could run with this one, which has this layer mask on here, which is going to fade those legs out by default. There's some darkening you can turn on to help blend with that. Then there's also, if you wanted to turn this foreground smoke on and give it some color to help blend your subject in, you could do that as well. And again, the smoke color is just another hue saturation lightness adjustment layer to where you could just dial that smoke in and create, you know, whatever tone that you would like out of that. Let's move it back to blue. That looks pretty good. Turn our text back on. And there we go. That's the general overview of this design and the options that are in there. Hopefully you find it's very simple to use and very easy to navigate. And I hope that it helps you be very profitable in your sales.